Hey everyone, today we are joined by a very special guest to show off a very special airplane. We have Piper here with us today, my little buddy here who always seems to be wanting to help build RC airplanes, and I think it's very fitting that she joins me today as we talk about an airplane that's very, very, very important to me. You know, when people ask, why do you fly RC planes, and especially why do you fly scale RC planes? Well, you know, part of the allure and the attraction of flying RC airplanes, especially scale ones, is you're somewhat reliving pieces of history. You know, you're either flying, you know, like a P-47 with invasion stripes, you know, supporting the invasion of Normandy, flying an F-4U Corsair over Iwo Jima, busting up tanks in Iraq with an A-10. But that's all military history. This actually is my history. What's on the table today is the brand new E-Flite Piper Cherokee. And I grew up around Cherokees, Arrows, and Warriors my entire life. My first ride in an airplane was at the age of probably 2 or 3 in my grandpa's 1978 Arrow, followed by his spending a lot of time flying in the back of both of his Arrows, as well as his 1994 Piper Arrow. That if you've been following my channel at all, you know that I have built a Park Zone Archer to basically look exactly like that airplane that I actually designed the paint scheme for. So I've grown around the airframe pretty much my entire life. I've logged so many hours sitting either in the co-pilot seat or in the back of a PA-28, and it means a lot to me to be able to fly an RC version of this. I have the Park Zone Archer, and it's not, you know, the scale of it isn't 100% right. It's also a turbo Archer, which makes it doesn't really look exactly like my grandpa's Arrows did. But this brand new Cherokee that E-Flite just came out with. In fact, this is probably one of the first customer deliveries that we've seen. At least if I follow in on RC groups, I think Rampage is the only one that's got like a pre-production model to use for evaluation. So this is definitely one of the very first ones to look at. As soon as I saw the airplane come out on E-Flite's website a few weeks ago, I knew I absolutely had to have it. Being such a huge fan of the Cherokee and knowing what it means both to myself and my family's history to have an RC model that's a really, really good example of what a Cherokee looks like, I had to have it. So it arrived just a few minutes ago from FedEx. I just got it out of the shipping box, and we're going to actually get this thing out of the box and do an unboxing video. Then we're going to follow up with an assembly video. According to everything that E-Flite says, you can actually put this thing together in less time than it takes to charge a battery. So I figured let's go ahead and give that a shot. So to get started, let's start taking this thing out of the box. And of course, just like everything else Horizon Hobby, the box itself, it's well packaged. It's a beautiful, beautiful pictures all over the box. We got it here landing with the flaps on. In fact, that's probably the picture that sold me on it right there. When I saw this on the E-Flite website, it looked exactly like when I used to watch my grandpa come in for a landing with his Arrow, with the gear down, the flaps down, just over the threshold at the local airport on the runway there. I had to have it. So let's take a look around the box here real quick before we go ahead and get it out. So you can see we got a couple little marketing things on the bottom here. It does have optional Safe Select, as well as AS3X, which is AS3X is on all the time. That's the gyro, the stabilizing system, not to be confused with Safe. It says it's smooth handling and it's a perfect first low wing or scale model. Now I have a lot of experience with low wing airplanes and scale models, but I still think that this thing is going to be a really good airplane if you are looking to get out of a high wing trainer, or even like the Timber, something that's maybe a little bit beyond a trainer, and you want to get into a low wing. This is probably going to be a good example. We'll find out once we get it in the air. And one of the things that really sold me, of course, on the airplane, and E-Flite's been doing a fantastic job with this lately, is the abundant detail. We have the LED lights, we have the correct panel lines, we have the wheel pans, we have the antenna, the beacons, everything on it. The detail on it is amazing. Even the cockpit looks right. So pretty excited about all the stuff, and of course it also includes flaps. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get this thing out of the box. All right, well, not much to look at right now. Just it's still very well packaged up, as you can see here. We got a little cardboard covering over the styrofoam. We're gonna go ahead and remove the tape. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you know, get that tape far away from the airplane as you can, because that's probably gonna get stuck on the paint, and now you got a problem. So let's go ahead and get that off. All right, we got the cover off. Now we're starting to see the airplane kind of come to life inside the box here. If you're wondering where my assistant Piper is, she's actually in the box for the Piper Cherokee, which not terribly surprising that that's where a cat would be hanging out rather than being on camera. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's start pulling the airplane out. First thing we got here is our carbon fiber wing spar. Okay, make sure that doesn't roll away. We have our wheel pants in landing gear. These appear to be the main landing gear. Yep, they are. Okay, we just got two of these here together. The wheel pants are plastic with a little bit of a foam fairing. Get these out. Here we go. And it's really a pretty sturdy piece of bent metal here. I'm not sure if it's aluminum or steel. I think it's steel, given the strength of it here. The wheel pants are screwed together and then screwed to the landing gear. It's got a foam. It's a very firm, actually, foam landing gear. Otherwise, yeah, wheel pant looks real good, and of course that's plastic. We got foam and foam, so we got a couple different materials there. Let's get that out. Go ahead and get the other one out here. Little interesting fact on, you know, if you happen to be a big 007 fan like I am, you know, these were actually used in the movie Goldfinger. And the paint scheme on a couple of the aircraft that were used, because that was a 1960s James Bond movie, is actually the same paint scheme with a different set of colors at least, but the scheme is the exact same scheme that my grandfather had on his 1966 Piper Cherokee 180C. That airplane is still around, by the way. I am trying to contact the owner to see if it's still painted up the same way. And this winter, this thing's going to get stripped down and actually going to be painted to be an exact replica of my grandfather's 1966 Cherokee. So that means when I get this one done, I'll have an Archer that's been turned into his 94 Arrow, an Archer that's turned into his 1978 Arrow, which is the first plane I ever flew in, and of course then his 1966 Cherokee, which I never got a chance to actually see. Okay, here we have the wing, classic Piper Cherokee wing here. Call this the Hershey bar wing, so it's a constant chord, very rectangular wing. As you can see, we even got all the panel lines in here. Got the gas cap. What's funny is the Archer actually has a decal here for the gas cap, and the new Cherokee with all of its scale details does not. But don't worry, I can get all the Cali and we can get that fixed. But otherwise, yeah, it's even got all the raised rivets and everything on it. It looks really cool. Landing lights, of course, navigation light, and strobe lights are installed. We have. Oh, look at that. All the servos and everything are nicely covered up, so you don't have any wires running through here. They've got these nice plastic covers over them. It's got flaps installed. Beautiful. Everything looks really good underneath here. They did a really wonderful job. It's got a slight ding in the foam here. We'll have to fix that. Not a big deal. Otherwise, the quality of everything looks really good. You know, it's really amazing how far these foam airplanes have come along over the years. I mean, this finish quality on here is absolutely amazing compared to just a few years ago. It's got the grip on here. This is for when you walk onto the aircraft to get in. The doors, of course, it's on the co-pilot side. That's that friction surface there. It's not gloss, obviously. In real life, it's kind of a skateboard tape material. This also has the new connectors that I've never had an airplane with this on it before, so I'm excited about these. So it has the servo connectors for the lights, or servos for the flaps and ailerons, and the connector for the lights already built in with little guide pins and little screws that hold it into the fuselage. So it's kind of a no wires approach to assembly. Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is pretty exciting because it's hard to see the detail in the camera. I'll try to hold it up, and it's going to be difficult. There's so many little details and little panel lines and access panels on the bottom here. Really adds to the realism of the aircraft. It's going to be exciting to put this thing together. So let's go ahead and keep going here. All right, so the next piece of cardboard is off. Now we're really starting to get into more of the aircraft. The fuselage is here. We have the propellers. So let's go through and start digging through here. Looks like the first piece to come out is the horizontal stabilizer, which is it's actually fully flying, which means just like the real Piper Cherokee, this entire stabilizer and elevator is actually one continual unit, and it all moves together. So just like the real airplane, unlike the one on the Archer, the Park Zone Archer, that is actually an elevator on the stabilizer. So this is actually exactly how the real one is in real life. Okay, we have the other wing, which of course looks exactly like the other wing, so we've already covered that in detail, so put that away. Instruction manual. You know, what's great about Horizon Hobby is they have the instruction manuals online. So I actually read over the instruction manual a little bit last night and again this morning. So I'm already familiar with it and already have my DSMX already programmed to what the manual recommends. Already looked up where the center of gravity is and really kind of looked at all the recommendations and the assembly instructions. So I got that done even before the airplane gets here. Okay, we'll keep going here. We've got the propeller and spinner. It looks like it's a collet style attachment with a screw holding that together, so no big surprise there. That's a pretty good size propeller, but it's actually a little bit more scale looking in appearance than the one on the Park Zone Archer. The Archer one is it's not nearly as scale correct. This one looks a little bit closer. It's still pretty big, but it's a little bit closer. All right, we're back. We have the hard bag of hardware. What's another really nice thing is this thing all screws together. There's no tape, there's no glue. It's all screwed together, which is great. If you ever take it apart, which I'll probably take it apart to do all the paint work on it, you can easily do so. So we have our hardware, we got our bind plug. Doesn't look like really anything else besides our fasteners. Might not be a bad idea to order yourself an extra set of hardware, because hate to show up to the field, start putting in one of the wings and drop a screw into the grass and can't find it, and now you go home. So you may want to pick up an extra set of that. As usual, everything is very well packaged here from Horizon. There's no movement at all in the airplane. I've had a couple of the older ones in which things can kind of move around inside the box. They have really upped their game in terms of packaging. This thing, there's no way anything's moving around in here when shipping. So, now comes the best part. Let's get the fuselage out. Wow, there we go. All right, the fuselage is out, and boy, just like everything else in the airplane, it does not disappoint. It is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, let's see. I don't know if you can quite see inside there, but it's got the scale-looking cockpit. The seats look a little short compared to where the pilot's head's at, but I think that it really doesn't too bad. I got some glue on the inside of the windshield here, or the side windows that probably I can try to take that apart to clean it up. The windows aren't nearly as clear on this as they probably could have been for whatever reason. They're a little foggy on the side, but overall, boy, I gotta say, this thing is really cool. All the panel lines are exactly the right spot. Even around the cowl here, you got the latches and everything. And just looking at this area here, it reminds me so much of going down to the hangar on a Sunday afternoon, especially like in the fall or in the early spring. And we got to go take the winterization plates off my grandpa's Aero, and how much fun that was of handling all the different pieces inside the airplane and seeing the engine inside there. It's all pretty cool stuff, and it takes me right back to all that, seeing it here. Otherwise, just a single pilot on board. Not a lot of detail on that guy. In fact, I would say it's probably the least detailed pilot E-Flite's ever put in an airplane, but I'm not terribly worried about that. That's perfectly fine. But we do have the radio antenna on the back here, which is also the release for the canopy, just like the original Park Zone Archer. We have a rotating beacon up here on the very top. There is, well, that's interesting. On RC groups, there appear to be pictures of a light on the back of the rudder here, a navigation light, and that's simply not here in the production model. It's not there at all. So, all right, well, that's interesting. Okay. Another interesting thing here is that the rudder here, the hinge, it looks like Well, it looks like I can't tell if there's an actual hinge in there or if the foam is missing quite a bit. So I'm going to add some blend tape to that. That looks a little iffy there. I got a little bit of red overspray on the fuselage on the co-pilot side here, but overall not too bad. It's going to get repainted anyway. But otherwise, yeah, just like the wings, all the panel lines are here. The latches are here for the door hinges. Everything is just where it needs to be at. They really went out of their way to make it look scale correct. Even the nose, boy, you look at the nose, and that is 100% a Piper Cherokee nose on there, and it's got the nice landing light in the right spot. It's got the wheel pant. That should be a functional strut on the front there, which it is. Great, yeah. I tell you, the tow hook even on the back. The scale details are really what sets this airplane apart. It's going to be an absolute joy to fly. So let's pop open the canopy here. Okay, there we go. It just took a second there to figure out how it works. Otherwise, nothing really too much to talk about inside here other than look at all that room. I'm going to be flying with a 2200 3S, but this thing, without any single modifications, will fly on a 4S battery. It's got a 50 amp ESC already installed, so you could drop in your 4S. I don't have any 4S batteries. I'll fly mine on 3S. 3S is a little bit more scale in terms of speed and performance. 4S turns this thing into a Cherokee Reno Racer, which is a little bit more than I need. It's got the AR636A pre-programmed AS3X with optional save. Servos come pre-installed already. Of course, the standard E-Flite EC3 connector. All the push rods are already installed. Like I said, nothing really dramatic in here other than the fact that there is a lot of room. If you ever need to put anything inside this aircraft, it's pretty open. I really like the machined latch and everything. It's a machined piece of brass with a spring behind it. Gotta watch the antenna, make sure you don't break it off. But man, it's a pretty well put together release on there. So overall, yeah, it's impressive. It is a Cherokee 100%. There is no doubt about it. It looks the part. I'm sure it's gonna fly the part. And I think for me, one of the most exciting things is when I get this in the air. It's going to take me back to when I used to fly with my grandfather, when I used to fly with my dad. And a lot of times you never realize that when you have your last flight with somebody, that's the last flight. You know, I do remember perfectly the last flight I had with my grandfather. I actually sat in the back and let my wife sit in the co-pilot seat, and that was her first and only flight with him and inside of an Aero. And you just always expect that you're going to get back in the airplane and go do it again. And one day you find out that that's never going to happen. The airplane's sold, and he's no longer able to fly, and then he's gone. Same with my dad. I flew with him on one flight in a Warrior, and that's the only flight I've ever had with him. And I think that may have been one of his last flights as pilot in command too. So you never really know when those are going to be your last time flying. And so at least with this, thanks to E-Flite and Horizon Hobby, I get to fly that shape airplane again and kind of relive some of my memories rather than just reliving memories from the history book in terms of all my warbirds that I fly. So I hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing of the E-Flite Piper Cherokee 1.3 meter. This thing is going to be incredible. Let's go grab some tools and let's kick up another video here on how to assemble the brand new E-Flite Cherokee.